Why did Nate Diaz lose to Jake Paul? The three game-changing factors. Today, we're diving into the much-debated Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz bout and uncovering the top reasons behind Diaz's surprising defeat. Reason number one on why Nate Diaz lost to Jake Paul. One of the most critical factors that led to Diaz's loss was his inability to effectively engage Paul from a distance. Nate never fought at range. Nate never fought behind a jab, not even a basic jab. He never fought behind a 1-2 or a double jab. He never fought at range. He always tried to get in grappling range. Diaz, known for his close-range combat skills, found himself at a disadvantage against Paul's longer reach and strategic use of space. In the world of boxing, range is everything. It's not just about how hard you can hit, but also how far. Diaz, a seasoned MMA fighter, is no stranger to close-quarters combat. His strength lies in the ability to deliver powerful punches at a close range, often overwhelming his opponents with his relentless pressure. However, his fight against Jake Paul was a different ballgame. Paul, with his boxing background, was able to maintain distance, effectively keeping Diaz at bay. This strategy prevented Diaz from getting close enough to land his signature power punches. Throughout the fight, we saw Diaz struggling to close the gap. His attempts to get inside were met with stiff jabs and quick footwork from Paul. This inability to fight from the outside or long range proved to be a significant disadvantage for Diaz. In the end, it was a classic case of styles making fights. Paul's boxing-centric approach, coupled with his reach advantage, neutralized Diaz's close-range power. This was a key factor in the outcome of the fight and a lesson for Diaz in the importance of adaptability in the ring. Reason number two on why Nate Diaz lost to Jake Paul. The second reason why Diaz lost his fight was his inability to counterpunch, or his lack of counterpunching. Diaz is known for his aggressive style, often walking down his opponent and drawing out their punches. However, in the fight against Paul, the strategy seemed to fall short. Diaz was able to get Paul to throw punches, but he often responded by simply putting up a high guard rather than initiating exchanges or counterpunching. Counterpunching is a critical skill in boxing. It's about taking advantage of your opponent's openings immediately after they throw a punch. Nate Diaz put a lot of pressure on his opponent. He put a lot of pressure on Paul. So he should have employed a come forward aggressive counterpunching style, similar to like a Triple G or a Saul Alvarez, a Canelo Alvarez. Triple G and Canelo Alvarez have mastered this art, often coming forward and counterpunching to great effect. This is a style that Diaz should have employed. He should have emulated Triple G or Saul Alvarez, a come forward counterpuncher. David Benavidez is another fighter that comes to mind. In the fight against Paul, Diaz had opportunities to counterpunch, especially on the inside. He was successful in drawing out Paul's punches, but instead of capitalizing on these moments, Diaz often chose to simply defend. Had Diaz been more proactive in these situations, initiating exchanges and counterpunching, the outcome could have been much different. The lack of counterpunching was a significant factor in Diaz's loss. It's a reminder of the importance of versatility in the ring, the ability to switch strategies and adapt to the opponent's style. Diaz's approach, while effective in some scenarios, was not enough to secure a win against a boxer like Paul, who was able to exploit those gaps in Diaz's strategies. Reason number three on why Nate Diaz lost to Jake Paul: slapping and not punching. The Diaz brothers are famous for their Stockton Slap, a technique that, while effective in MMA, didn't translate well into the boxing ring. Diaz's punches often lacked the necessary impact because he was slapping with the gloves instead of landing with the knuckle part of the glove. In boxing terms, he wasn't turning over his punches. But the biggest reason for Diaz's ineffective punches was his footwork. Boxing isn't just about the hands, it's about the feet too. Your footwork determines your balance, your ability to evade punches, and most importantly, your power. Throughout the fight, Diaz's footwork was less than ideal. He moved around the ring as if he was strolling in the park, rarely in good position to sit down on his punches. This lack of solid footwork meant that he had no real leverage on his punches, resulting in them lacking power. Great boxers know how to use their footwork to generate power. They plant their feet firmly, align their body correctly, and deliver punches that carry the weight of their entire body. The term in boxing that I like to use is using your kinetic chain. That means using your whole body to generate force, from your feet through your fists. Diaz's footwork didn't allow for this kind of power generation. In the end, Diaz's ineffective punching and lack of fundamentally sound footwork were significant factors in his loss to Jake Paul. It's a stark reminder of how the fundamentals of boxing, footwork, punch technique, and power generation can make or break a fight. Be on the lookout for my next video where I teach you Naoya Inoue's attacking style footwork.